Still trying to throw the ball. On first and goal, second and goal. Panicking at third. Fourth, I'm wishing for a muff.
Welcome to the 510 Huddle podcast. Got a special guest in the building today, Lorenzo J, Reyna. How you doing today, Mr. Reyna?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's an honor to be on your guys' show. You guys got a good platform. It's a good opportunity to get to know what's going on in the 510 region, a region that I frequently visited every so often. So, it's good times to be on the show at a perfect time also.
Yeah, man, my guy Zoe, he's a regular contributor over at 24/7 Sports. How long you been there, Zoe? You've been there for a while now. Huh?
So to clarify,
and you were somewhere before that, correct?
Yeah, so like I have 12 years in the game, so I'm in my Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers year of journalism.
Okay.
And as far as like the 24/7 cycle is concerned, so I latched on when they were known as Scout.com. I'm sure you guys remember Scout. Yeah. Well, Scout got bought by 24/7, and then from there, like it just transferred over. So as far as like in terms of the Scout 24/7 branch, I've been with them since 2016. And so next year will be year 5. So
okay. Got my co-host in the building with us today, man. My guy Zay Walters. How you doing today, Coach Zay?
I'm doing great. We up early, getting the pod done. Happy. It's
always good when we get it in early.
Exactly, man.
Yeah, but this is like night and day for me, especially when you do National Signing Day. And I think with you, D-Lane, you did National Signing Day before.
Yeah. This is the Breakfast Club time, man. It's the Breakfast Club time.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just waiting on Charlemagne the God and or even Sway in the morning.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna go ahead, Zach. Go. You got something? Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah. No, I just want to kick us off, Lorenzo, and just hear about how you got started with journalism.
Yeah. So 2008 was when I really dove into it, and I grew up in a family that really put an emphasis on reading and writing. It was very, very important. And it's kind of unique because like my two brothers were always into reading books, but I was kind of like the black sheep. I was always into newspapers and magazines. Like I was always quick to get the sports section every day in the newspaper, or I would read Sports Illustrated. Another one that was big in my growing up years was the Source Sports, when the Source actually had a sports magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always enamored by just how they were able to use words to connect with readers, but paint a picture from a sports landscape. And so when I got to Fresno State, it was 2008. I was actually there as a history major, but my passion was more along the lines of covering sports and athletes. And so I remember my godfather sat me down and asked me, well, do you see yourself doing something you're good at, or do you see yourself doing something you're more passionate about? And I was more passionate about writing sports stories. And it was around that time I met a young man named Derek Carr. And he was actually one of the first athletes I got to cover. And then also I got a chance to cover a young Paul George over at Fresno State. And just from there, it just kind of exploded, because I wasn't just covering like the Fresno State athletes. I was also covering the athletes in the Fresno area who were starting to become national recruits. I mean, I could think of names like Caleb Kelly, who ended up at Oklahoma. I could think of Josh Allen. I actually saw a baseball game involving Josh, and the dummy in me thought that he was going to play baseball instead of football, but I've been proven wrong before, so I could go on and on about.
And you're Fresno State alumni, so and you from that area? You from that area?
So I'm originally I moved around a lot, but my home is 805.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, my home is like the Santa Barbara County area.
Okay.
I spent the bulk of my years there, but I lived in Fresno for 8 years.
Okay.
And so I was able to cover like schools like Edison, Bullard, the Tulare schools, the Bakersfield schools. Yeah.
You get Clovis West or Clovis?
Clovis West, yeah.
Okay.
Clovis West as well. In fact, so Caleb Kelly came from Clovis West, and Adrian Martinez as well was another. He was actually one of the last guys I covered when I was in Fresno.
Crap, man, some crazy amount of talent that comes out of Fresno, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Wasn't the Clayton Valley coach over there before he came?
Tim Murphy.
Yeah, he was at Clovis, right?
Clovis East. So Murphy built that program from the ground up. He fell into some hard times. I guess his system got with the times and ended up at Clayton Valley Charter. Okay. I'll share a funny story. So like Murphy like has these unique singles, but it looks like he's flexing.
Okay. Hey, like we went to a camp. The first time I met him, that's how I knew who you were talking about. We thought he was on steroids, man. Our coach was like, Coach, I think he can get you. We think Murphy might be able to get.
Yeah, he's jacked.
That motherfucker's juicing every morning. I could tell.
That boy was jacked. I mean, it's
he's
like
jacked up.
Yeah, it's funny. You see all these coaches and like a lot of them are either old or out of shape, but Murphy looks like he played in the NFL, but he was a practice squad player.
Yeah, it looked like Brian Urlacher's brother or something.
Did you cover what was the DB that went to Oregon from the Fresno area? That was really good.
Cliff Harris.
Cliff Harris, yeah. Was he? Did you cover him around that time, or was that?
So okay, so I knew of Cliff. It was actually so I started getting into the journalism field around the time that he had actually accepted his offer to Oregon. But I got a chance to know his DB coach, the legendary Tony Perry, who is no longer with us. Tone was really instrumental in the recruiting game in Fresno, and he was actually the first guy who got me to get to know a lot of these kids. I even got a chance to get to know Tevin McDonald, and if you're familiar with the last name, that's Tim McDonald's son, who ended up at UCLA.
Okay.
That's crazy. Come full circle.
You just posted him too, right? Did he just pass away?
Yeah, it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. I thought I'm confusing with somebody else.
Yeah, he was. Tone was connected in the Bay Area too. He had a lot of connections out there as well.
I was gonna ask you, cause I don't know if you covered that team, but wasn't Murphy team the team that beat or lost to D-Jack team in the state that year?
No, that was way before my time.
Well, okay.
Yeah, because so Murphy, like Murphy's other Bay Area connection is he coached Tracy Slocum before Slocum ended up at Cal.
Okay.
Comes full circle. What with the it's crazy. I used to be down in Fresno. I used to go to those summer Fresno camps in high school.
Oh, I remember those. Those were badass.
Oh, those were so much fun. But yeah, it was fun just going against like coming from the Bay Area, those Clovis West, Clovis East teams. We played all those teams down there, just scrimmaging.
Yeah, Bishop Gorman as well was down there too.
Yep. Oh, it was loaded. I know there was 2 weeks. Like they did 1 week and the second week. But when you started your journalism career at Fresno State and starting off covering Derek Carr, how was that for you?
So Derek was already like being hyped up as like the second coming. I felt like the guy was starting to become like a godlike figure in Fresno. And as you guys know, he came from a very prominent household. I mean, his older brother was David Carr. Yeah. And here's another thing that's unique about when I think back at Derek Carr before he even threw his first passes. He literally had billboards of his name, and Fresno State was doing that to promote ticket sales. That never happens for a true freshman at any place. I mean, not even at a Power 5. So, and just the weighted expectations that Derek had, I mean, he had a lot of scrutiny. I think to this day, he was probably the most scrutinized Fresno State athlete of all time, but he handled the pressure so well. And I think it helped that his older brother went through that fire. His older brother was booed by the Fresno State fans, but then he became revered after that 2001 season. And it was the same with Derek, just like how he handled things, how whenever he made a mistake, he accepted the blame and he didn't throw anybody under the bus. So, it's really unique how you think back at what happened then and you look at him now and what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, $25 million quarterback. So he did what he was supposed to do.
That's an NFL quarterback that you've seen up close and personal, right there, Zoe. Pod listeners, we're about to get a bunch of stories, man. Zoe knows a bunch of athletes over time. I want to ask you. Yeah, I want to ask you, since you started with Carr right there, who's the best QB you've seen like in the California area from high school to college? You can do either one. Because I know for my years at least that I remember. Like vividly remember, I remember Zach Klein was dope.
Yeah,
Zach Klein, he lit us up in the playoffs one year, Castro Valley. He was dope, and then I remember the Browning kid, but I don't think he could touch
Klein went to
Browning kid from Folsom. I don't think he could touch Klein as far as arm talent though.
Klein was nice. Klein ended up. So I remember Klein committed to Tedford when he was at Cal.
Okay.
What I remember, and I saw him at a passing tournament too. But
Okay.
like in my area, 805, I covered a young man by the name of Jake Constantine, and he's actually one of my favorites for this reason. Camarillo played against a number of Southern California powerhouses. Calabasas was one. Thousand Oaks, before they fell on hard times, they played against a Paso Robles team that the previous year had played in the state playoffs. Jake was beating these teams, and Camarillo literally had outside of Jake, their best college prospect was a Division II prospect.
Okay.
And I remember Jake had like the most frustrating recruiting period, but it wasn't until after the season Boise State finally brought him in. Now he's grad transferring to Washington State. He's one name I could think of.
Okay.
Outside of that, I mentioned it earlier, Adrian Martinez. I think Adrian really changed the dynamics of that Clovis West offense. And it's kind of crazy because Clovis West, they've been more known as like a spread team, spread like 4 or 5 wide receivers. Adrian to me gave them a read option element. And just his junior year was extremely dominant, and just like his film study and how he was able to just compartmentalize the game. He's another one I could think of. And I think outside of that, I'll also throw out a dark horse pick that I thought was one of the best quarterbacks I got a chance to cover. Marcus McMaryion. Marcus ended up at Oregon State, and he was there for 3 years, but then he transferred to Fresno State, and he came at a time when Fresno State had just fired Tim DeRuyter. Well, McMaryion ended up carrying Fresno State on his back. He's best known for beating Boise State, and he kind of jokes with Derek Carr. It's like, I beat Boise State more than he did. But, Marcus was another one who was like really strong in his composure and being able to elevate a program that was 1-11 and started playing for Mountain West championships the next 2 years.
Yeah, you've seen everyone. And I seen that you, not to bounce around, but you covered quarterbacks, but you also covered Devontae Adams.
Yes.
And seeing, I think of, Derek Carr and is a really good NFL quarterback, but I think Devontae is that guy that's on the Hall of Fame trajectory in the NFL.
I'll share a funny story that maybe you guys didn't hear. So I'm pretty sure it was Devontae. So years ago when Devontae was getting recruited, Keith Williams was the receivers coach, and Keith Williams had told Devontae, just letting you know, we got Jesus Christ in football cleats playing quarterback.
How about Derek Carr? That's crazy.
Yeah, but they meshed so finessely though. It was crazy. Like
a true route runner guy like that, I could see complimenting Carr's game well, because it's not like he's a big body target guy. It's not like he has that he's ever had that 6'5", 6'6" guy. He just throws.
That's how he played at. That's how he played at Fresno State though. You just throw it up to Devontae, he's catching it.
Yeah. He always had routes though, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing too I'll say about Devontae is like he grew up in East Palo Alto, and I'm sure you guys know East Palo Alto. That's like not even anything like the Palo Alto we know.
Yes,
and
that's
so
old EPA. Yeah, that's old EPA. Yeah,
but he brought that element. He brought that scrapper element, that Bay Area scrapper to Fresno State, and I'm sure you guys have seen over the years, Fresno State and Bay Area kids they go hand in hand. Like a lot of Bay Area kids have thrived there.
It's crazy that you say that because I remember I graduated high school in 2012.
Okay.
And so I remember just being in high school. Every time I turned on Cal Sports, it was Devontae Adams at Palo Alto High School, either balling with football or basketball. Like he was, I heard him from when I was young. So yeah, it's cool to see him where he's at today.
Before we move on from this topic, I just want to stay on quarterbacks real quick, and I want your analysis on the kids so far this year. But while we was talking quarterbacks, one of the best freshman high school quarterbacks I ever seen was Jake Hayner. Is that his name? Jake Hayner. I'm talking about Zay. I don't know if you know this kid. He's at he was at Washington. Now he's at Fresno State. Correct, Zoe?
Yeah.
Zay, I'm talking about I seen this kid as a freshman come in. I'm talking about he throwing 15-yard comebacks on the dime, post routes on the dime, not missing as a small true freshman, my guy. And I seen he went on to Washington. Now he's at Fresno State. How's he looking right now so far at Fresno State, Zo?
Yeah, you know, he like considering the circumstances with coronavirus and also Fresno State missing 2 games because of COVID-19 protocols, he handled himself extremely well. I mean, the chemistry that he had with Jalen Cropper, Carrick Wheatfall, some of his other receivers, it was instant. Of course, it helped the fact that he was there last year as a transfer, and he unfortunately the NCAA transfer ruling they got to him where he had to sit out the whole year. But you know, it was almost as if they had already played 20 games together. Just how he was able to just pick up the offense and also the relationship that he already developed with Brian Grubb, the offensive coordinator. But you know, Hayner. Another thing I'll add about Hayner D-Lane is that his dad has a lot of Fresno roots. He played at Bullard High with a Fresno State legend by the name of Kevin Sweeney. And
Okay.
so I feel like that along with the Bay Area element that Hayner has, he also has that Fresno blue collar attitude. So mesh those things together, you get a dangerous quarterback, in my opinion.
Young stud, man. Young stud. And then he comes from Monte Vista. They like a little QB factory over there, man.
Yeah, I remember who was it was Kyle Wright who went there?
They had
Miami?
they had a guy that went to Oregon Zay around your time. You know what I'm talking about?
Which player?
He from Monte Vista. Damn, I can't remember his name.
Oh, Monte Vista. Let me see. I played Monte Vista 2011 playoffs.
And he threw the Ertz, I believe, when Ertz was there. Cause you know.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about. No, Ertz. That's before my time. Ertz, I saw. He graduated my freshman year in high school.
Okay.
I always tell people Ertz is one of the best athlete I ever seen in person in high school. He beat San Leandro High's football team by himself in the playoffs. Then went on and Jared Cunningham played in the NBA. He guarded him and held him to 4 points and knocked him out the playoffs.
Wow.
One of the most athletic people I've ever seen in high school.
Let's go there with it, Zo. Who as far as because we know you don't just cover football, but who's the best high school talent you've seen as far as you've seen these guys jump from one sport to another? And it doesn't have to be 3, it can just be one other sport.
Yeah. So recently, I got a chance to see Elijah Cooks. Elijah Cooks is playing receiver at Nevada, but he also got a chance to walk on the basketball team. This dude was an electric dunker, and here's what's crazy about Elijah Cooks. He played at Atascadero High. Atascadero is a very small community. It's a winery community, but I mean, whenever there was a basketball game and he was in it, good luck trying to get to the game. Good luck trying to find a seat. That's how electric this dude was. Another one I could think of too, and I'll go back to Josh Allen as well. It's crazy because I saw Josh pitch in a baseball game when he was a junior, and I was impressed by how this kid's 6'4", has a cannon. But then I also equally heard that he was just as skilled on the football field. So I got a chance to see a little bit of both there. Yeah. Unfortunately, I kind of hate to say it. The last time I saw Josh Allen play live in person, he threw an interception to a defensive tackle. It was the first play of the game, and his team got blown out. But I mean, he learned from that. I mean, he learned from that. Now we know him as Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, definitely. What? Go ahead, Zay. You got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about you've seen these great athletes, from your time doing doing journalism. Was there any athlete that you knew right away you're like, that guy's going to play at the next level? Because you've seen a lot that have played at high Division I, and I don't say that's hard to see, but you can see it. Is there any guy you knew from high school he's going to next level?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go down all the way to the Inland Empire. I got a chance to see Jaden Daniels as a 7th grader, the same Jaden Daniels you now see at Arizona State. I think what separated Jaden from kids that age was his football IQ. And another thing that helped Jaden was his dad happened to be a former DB at Iowa State, so he was able to pass down his college knowledge to Jaden. Another one I could think of is Toa Tawa. If you're familiar with the Tawa name, I mean, Tawa was a very prominent Nevada running back. Anu played at UCLA. Toa was moved up to Lompoc High as a freshman. And, that doesn't happen very often at a place like Lompoc High. It's the place that produced Napoleon Kaufman. Levon Coleman played there as well.
Okay.
So, Toa was another one that I saw had that it factor right away. And I was just like, well, I'm not going to be shocked if this guy's a 15-20 offer guy or Power 5 guy.
I wonder if Kaufman just picked up a new job or if he's just done. Because I know he was just
he's in your guys' neck of the
No,
woods.
that's what I was going to say. He was at Odell, but I heard he just stepped down either this past season or the year before. I'm not sure. but he did just recently step down. I was gonna have him on the show. I wanted to ask you about another quarterback. I'm sure you probably crossed paths with Zoe, and he's actually in the NFL right now. Did you ever get a chance to cover Jared Goff?
Yes. It's crazy because Jared Goff came to my city, Santa Maria, at a passing down tournament. It was actually the last time passing down came down here, but the guy was throwing lasers.
I was gonna
And
say arm talent wise, I seen it with him early because I think I've seen him at a
yeah,
passing tournament too, and I was like, he a tall, skinny ass kid back then, but he was throwing little lasers all over the field.
he was like a toothpick, but I mean a toothpick with a howitzer for an arm.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy, and he had already committed to Cal when I interviewed him, and even at then he was already like 6'3", 6'4". But I mean, I think in terms of velocity, like he probably had one of the best releases I've seen.
Cool. Do you think I feel like being in California and a journalist, especially around sports, you get to see so many quarterbacks that other journalists don't see. Do you think that's unique for the part of the area you cover?
Yeah, so you know what? I'll say this. So like in my areas where whether if it's 805, Central Valley, or even your guys' area, I feel like that you're always gonna run into scrappers. You're always gonna run into those guys who are slipping under the radar, but then they break out. I mean, we mentioned Devontae Adams. I mean, Devontae was very under recruited. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, even Stanford, like he's in Stanford's backyard, but unfortunately he didn't have the grades to go to Stanford at the time. And I think he only had two offers in that period. But I've seen several like Central Valley 805 kids who they don't they don't stack the offers like you originally think, or maybe they're in an area where college coaches might not be too familiar with. But then you see them make it to the NFL. You see them make it to a Power Five. You know, recently one guy I covered out in Paso Robles is Josh Oliver, the same Josh Oliver you see playing tight end with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
Yep, San Jose State.
Yeah.
It's crazy you say that because I graduated from a climbing high school, and I know Marcus Peters. He didn't even have an offer from Cal, and that's just crazy to think about right there. So I think a lot of Bay Area kids just get overlooked sometimes.
Yeah, I found that out. I found that odd too because it's like the demographics are big, and you include Oakland, you include San Francisco, San Jose area as well, and like in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the talent pool is deep, but I found out 2-3 years ago that there's a lot of kids who like they barely get a blip, and those are the kids I usually try to go after.
I think the cool. I would say the cool part is, but for the Fresno States, the San Jose States, the Nevadas, it gives you a good talent pool for them to recruit from. So I think that's why you see like the Josh Oliver, like just random tight end from San Jose State. How's he balling? And right there in the backyard.
And Bailey Gaither right now. I mean, Bailey was another one that I covered who's currently balling out at San Jose State. Braylon Lux for Fresno State. Jake Haener, going back to you, D-Lane, Jake Haener only had one Power 5 offer, and that was Washington, the one he committed to. Everything else was either an FCS offer or a Mountain West offer.
Yeah. I definitely don't understand it, man. I will tip my hat. I feel like the beginning of Teffer's time at Cal, they got the backyard heavy. They got their backyard home heavy. But since the end of like Teffer's area, I just don't know what's going on, man. We got the talent's out here. The talent's out here. We all know, yes, Cal is definitely rigorous academically to get into. Them, UC Davis, Stanford, or the bigger schools, UC Davis.
Cal to me did a lot better in NorCal this past cycle. I mean, getting Jermaine Terry was huge. Getting Achille Calhoun as well. You also went into Folsom. I mean, Folsom's a hard area to recruit because Clemson goes out to Folsom now.
I was gonna ask you, how has Teffer been doing in the Fresno area? Because I was gonna say I know Fresno State.
Teffer resigned.
Yeah. Oh, he resigned.
Yeah.
Okay. Before the year.
Yeah. So what happened was Teffer had some heart issues in the past when he was at Tampa Bay, and unfortunately they came back full circle. So Kalen DeBoer's the head coach now, and DeBoer was his offensive coordinator the 2 years that he was in Fresno.
Okay. And he won the Magus his first year here, didn't he?
So Mountain West. So he played. They went to the title game against Boise at Boise. They lost that game, but then the following year, 2018, when Boise like changed color on their field when it became a white field, Fresno State won that game, and that's the team that ended up going to the Las Vegas Bowl. That was actually the first bowl game I ever got a chance to cover, and 10
Okay.
years in the journalism field, I never had covered a bowl game. And
Mm.
so I finally got a chance to experience that moment. I still got the credential back there.
Yeah, yeah. Cause
And
I
I don't
know
mean
I
to flex, but
no.
these are my accolades.
Yeah, show them off, man.
Yeah, no, flex it. We love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Love
So
it.
like there's my Red Box Bowl and there's a Las Vegas Bowl and then the Cowboys, USC, all that. I have
Okay.
UCLA in the corner too.
You got to get a big frame, like something like this, and just put them real nice in there. Just keep adding to
Yeah.
it. That would be dope.
And I purposely have them there because it's like it's my motivation when I go to bed. It's like, okay, there's plenty of room to add more. So
Yeah.
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 And just speaking of, how has your job and what you do changed in 2020? How's that been?
yeah, it's an eye opener. It's humbling, and I even talked to a lot of colleagues, and it's almost like a scene in Bird Box or any kind of like thriller or horror movie you can think of, like going into an empty stadium, no fans, there's just sound effects. Jokingly, you can actually hear the plays in the huddle sometimes.
Man.
Now, like for a guy like me to kind of clarify, so unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to cover any games because of how limited the credentials were, and also the health precautions that came with it. But still being able to actually cover games, regardless if it was through Zoom or social media. But it's changed. But I tip my hat to my colleagues. I tip my hat to the guys at 24/7, the newspaper writers, the mainstream guys. you know I can imagine what they went through, especially like constantly going for the testing, even being told that they tested positive and couldn't cover a game. I mean, it it's definitely, and I know I'm overusing this word, but it is humbling. But I do feel like that better days are ahead, especially not so much for us in the field, but also for these programs. That there is a vaccine that's going to be available in your area. You're gonna Once you get back into spring ball, you're gonna actually invite maybe some recruits over. You're gonna have all the health precautions taken care of. So you know it's tough to navigate, and I even wondered about you guys as well, because I know you guys have gone out to Laney, I think it is, and other places. I don't know how it worked with you guys with
This
being able.
we converted all to this Zoom because we usually like to get our guests in person if we could, but yeah, since
Right.
we started we had
Yeah.
It's like that with me too. I like being in person, but Zoom's kind of. I mean, I'm still getting used to Zoom.
yeah.
I think because you want to see the body more, talk to hands. I just think you
Yeah,
need to see more of people's emotions, but you
yeah,
got to pivot, right?
Let,
Got to have that football
yeah.
mind.
Because I know you guys had John Beam sitting next to you
yeah,
when
come
you
on.
guys started out. So, and you could kind of sense like Beam's emotions.
Yeah,
Oh
definitely.
yeah, definitely. I think that's
On our
big,
best
and then
pods. On our best
I think
pods, I
I
think.
think you build that relationship before the pod, because we're usually talking like how we got on today.
Right.
Talking 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes, and like, all right, we got to record now.
Yeah.
And I think that you bring that energy into the pod. But
Right.
I think again, like you said, I like how you use the word humbling. We all gotta pivot and do what we gotta do.
And yeah, I honestly feel worse for the kids and the coaches, more so the kids. I mean, as it is, like National Signing Day was 2 days ago. You still have a lot of seniors that haven't been offered yet. And they usually use this time to at least try to get either a preferred walk on or maybe like a last minute offer from like a UC Davis, a Sac State, or a Mountain West school. I know in years past, Hawaii, even Fresno State, San Jose State, they traditionally have been late starters on the recruiting trail. But you almost got to wonder what's going to happen with the February period. I mean, I haven't really heard if they're going to do away with it out of respect for the states that haven't played, but sounds like they're still going to go on with it. I just don't know how it's going to work.
Zoe, can you give us right here on the pod a shout out to the kids that did sign that was able to get for the mid-year point?
Yes.
Yeah. What kids do
Yes.
we got that did that were able to sign out?
Yeah, there's plenty. I mean, in my area, I even seen some of their journeys. It's like even like they had to rely on their junior film and to just to get on board and to hope that it was good enough to get them on board with a Fresno State, UNLV, San Jose State. I want to shout your guys' area. At I counted more than 30 kids who signed on Wednesday. And these are guys who either signed with San Diego State, UC Davis, or Cal Poly, but they also signed with a Colorado, a Washington. Again, Jermaine Terry signing with Cal.
That's the
And
Richmond kid, isn't it?
yeah, so like with Terry, I mean, I got a chance to chart his recruitment before he was even offered, and he ended up getting like 34 offers. But in a city like Richmond, those like you guys know, it's like, I mean, it's pretty much like set in stone. It's like Richmond's not the nicest of neighborhoods to grow up in.
Hey, I'm from Oakland, man. I don't even like going into Richmond. I only go to Richmond to visit my grandma because I know how
athletes. They got some special athletes.
They got that's the thing that so it's like, it goes to show you, like, and this is one of the other things I love about my career. It's like you look at a city, you hear like the constant bad news, but then you go there and you realize you can actually find some good news there. D-Lane, you being in Oakland, it's like, well, you're going to find athletes in Oakland. Marshawn Lynch came from Oakland. Damian Lillard came from Oakland. You could go back to all the way to Gary Payton, one of my favorite basketball players of all time. He's an Oakland guy. And, looking at Richmond, it's like, Richmond's not all just gangs and crime and drugs. It's like you can actually find some athletes there, and credit to these college athletes who discovered Jermaine Terry.
Before you finish with this class, one of my favorite players from last year's class, I coached in the All-Star game. You touched on him. He's from the Richmond area. Is Jalen Henderson?
Yeah, Jay Hen.
I got to coach Jay Hen in the All-Star game, and I told you so. My dumb ass had him at corner. I had him at safety, and I missed the first day of practice. And all day of the next day of practice, like, coach, let me play corner. I'm like, nah, you nice at safety. Like, I need you right there. Stay right there. We get the one-on-ones. I don't think a kid caught a ball on him the rest of the week, man.
I'm sure you saw the Raiders game last night. I guess you kind of made a similar mistake.
Yeah, definitely. One of the best athletes I've seen so far. My young coaching career, he's definitely the most talented.
The thing that I loved about Jahan that a lot of people don't talk about was he always felt like everything he did was with a purpose, and everything he did was not so much about him. It was about the city of Richmond. It was about putting Richmond in a more positive light. And so that's one thing that I've always respected about Jahan. And I was surprised that, a lot of Mountain West schools didn't get a chance to offer him when they could. But, Idaho State lucked out. Idaho State got a gym.
Yeah, they got a gym. And, hey, man, I usually tell kids, go get the free money. I'm never the one to tell the whole kid back or go JUCO. But he was actually one of the kids I wanted to go JUCO. Cause I was like, bro, I'm not gonna lie, you SEC talent. Like, you're talented for real.
Yeah.
Go get this little situation cleaned up, whatever school, whatever. I think 1 or 2 semesters at JUCO, bro. You'll be at one of the top programs because the talent's there. It's not even close. The talent is there.
I got just a couple more questions for you, Lorenzo. And I know you talked about your passion and getting into sports.
Zay, hold on. Let me finish real quick. You started with Terry. Just give us the quick rundown of the kids that signed real quick. The rest of the kids.
Yeah, so I won't go through the whole list, but
go ahead. Yeah, shoot us out.
Yeah, so DJ Bryant is another one that I got a chance to get to know over at San Leandro, although I think he transferred to Fremont, but San Diego
State.
My
team up. He lit my team up 1 year I coached against him.
Okay. San Diego State loves the Bay Area. So Vince Nunley, who came from Freedom High, the alma mater of Joe Mixon, Giles Jackson, Ronnie Rivers, a guy I cover at Barkboard. He ended up at Washington. Nico Reed over at Moreau Catholic ended up at Colorado. Lou Magia Hearns over at De La Salle. Like he's actually kind of a sleeper, and you don't really associate the word sleeper with a De La Salle kid, but he wasn't really all that offered. But Cal jumped on him when they could and managed to get him in. I'm going to also go to another sleeper that I discovered, or also that Barkboard discovered in San Francisco, Julian Neal over at Mission. Here's what's unique about Fresno State. They're trying to run a 4-2-5, and they have a position called the Husky, which is sort of like an outside linebacker safety position. They think Neal could come in and fill that void, be that versatile, like Swiss Army knife for that defense. And he has impressive size at 6'4". I believe he's like 205, 210. So he already has that size. And, it's crazy because you don't hear like very many Mission High kids go on to the FBS level in San Francisco.
He throw a little college weight on him. He gonna get about 225, 6
at least, yeah.
Yeah, he gonna be nasty.
Yeah, and Troy Franklin, another prominent guy who ended up going to Oregon.
We got an interview with Troy, man, from Atherton, right? What school he went to? Menlo
in Atherton, yeah. Yeah, Menlo's a good producer.
Stud. I coached against him all spring in 707 2 years ago. Yeah. Stud. Oregon got a steal. Oregon got a steal, guys.
Yeah.
Oregon, like kids.
Yeah. Troy's nice. I mean, I love the way he runs his routes, and truthfully, like Troy and Xavier Worthy out in Central High in Fresno, they were probably the two like most explosive receivers I got a
Okay.
chance to see this cycle.
Okay. Okay.
And so, like, I want to go to the JUCO. I'm gonna like I'll make you happy, D-Lane, and give a shout
Okay.
out to your JUCO alma mater,
Okay.
Laney.
Yeah.
So
So that's what's up,
LJ
man.
Anderson. LJ Anderson was one of my favorite athletes to cover, like through Inside the Spartans when he committed to San Jose State. He did kind of fall on some hard times with his academics, but Beam was able to straighten him out. He ended up committing to Weber State. And, Weber's all over the California JUCO scene, but shout out to LJ. He jokes that I'm his twin because some people call me LJ, and so like seeing his journey, being able to redeem himself at Laney and also in front of Last Chance U, and being able to go to Weber, even also, and let's keep this in mind, there was no season for JUCO this past year. They got pushed to January and February. So, LJ was one of those guys who didn't know like if he had enough film, but he was good enough for Weaver State.
Okay. Okay.
That's good. So those are the. Do you think because of COVID, this was there have been more offers out
I
this
think
year?
so. A lot of kids, like regardless if it was JUCO or high school, I think a lot of kids would have actually like gotten a chance to maybe sneak in one or two Power Five offers. Like I know with Fresno State, Jalen Williams over at Paraclete was labeled like a potential Power Five guy. Unfortunately, most of his offers were on the Mountain West side. Um, I think going back to JUCO, I think guys like not just LJ but Tim Dorsey, the defensive lineman that Laney had, I think he could have been a Power Five guy as well.
Yeah.
With if he had a season this past year, other guys you can think of like DJ Bryant as well. I mean, I love DJ's versatility, and I think San Diego State was his only offer, but he looked like a guy who could play at an Oregon State, maybe even an Oregon, Washington State. So, it just goes to show you how COVID just threw a wrench in everybody's plans.
I think. Do you think because of COVID, I think this year we might probably have the most deep JUCO talent ever. I think across
Yes,
the country.
I'm just telling you guys now, JUCO programs everywhere, they're gonna be loaded, filthy loaded with talent. And you almost have to wonder if they have enough uniforms to get these guys on board. Like I know like Laney, San Mateo, city of San Francisco, also the Central Valley ones, Fresno City, who I covered, College of the Sequoias, which is the alma mater of Sheldon Richardson and Steve Nelson, perhaps even Reedley. They're going to be loaded with a lot of talent galore, especially with how deep those areas are.
Yeah. Yeah. Another kid I want to ask you about that I actually got to coach for a quick minute and he's part of last year's class. So I think you're covering him right now at San Jose State. Did you get to see him at all in high school? Shamar Garrett from De La Salle.
Oh yeah, Shamar.
Another stud, man. Yeah, another one
Yeah,
of my favorites.
Shamar, and you probably saw the Nevada game. I mean, Shamar was the one who like literally changed the tide of that game
Yeah.
and just swung the momentum over to San Jose State's way. And you going back to like not like De La Salle and sleepers and how it doesn't really like coincide with one another. Shamar was another sleeper. Shamar was another one who wasn't
Mm-hmm.
heavily offered, but credit to Alonzo Carter, a guy I've known for a good number of years, good friend of mine. He saw something right away and made sure that he was gonna stay locally. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another thing too that really has separated San Jose State from the other schools. The fact that they use the acronym or the model Shield the Bay, and Zoe's like at the forefront of that.
Mm-hmm.
He's able to go out to the Bay Area powerhouses and build from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Another
we had
510 Huddle alumni. Another 510 Huddle alumni guest right there, Kozo.
Yeah, Oakland.
Yeah.
Oakland. Yeah, I think it was East Oakland, if I
Yeah.
remember.
Yep, he started his career at McClymonds High School, then went on to Berkeley, then Contra Costa. Now we got him
Yeah.
over at
And he
San Jose.
coached Takaris McKinley as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was a freak too. I ran
Tag.
track against him.
He got tag in high school. No, he had tag at CCC, right?
Yeah, he had tech at CCC.
Okay. I want to shift from football to basketball real quick. So I got a couple more before we let you go. Let's talk real quick about PG. Were you on campus at the time in Fresno State when you got to see Paul George?
Yeah, so like my second year at Fresno State was his first year. And
Okay.
yeah, so I got a chance to cover his very first college basketball game and he dropped 27. I think it was against Fresno Pacific, which is they moved up to Division 2, but Then I saw him. This is what's crazy. I saw him play against Kawhi Leonard.
Mm,
Yeah, and I mean those two were going at it as well.
yeah.
Utah State was probably the one school that found a way to actually counter and frustrate Paul George, but I got used to him dropping like 19, 20, 27 as well. So, Paul quietly became like that popular figure for Fresno State basketball. And he came during a time when that
It was
basketball
needed.
program, it was an afterthought because of the scandals that happened with Tarkanian and then also with Ray Lopes. But I look at Paul George was the guy who kind of like really reshaped that image of Fresno State men's basketball.
And I asked you that because one of my, I don't know if I even played because I sat out hoop one year. I think it was the year I actually didn't play, but I was still around the team, so I knew the coach. Q, one of the old Castro Valley High School basketball coach, he recruited Paul George over there at Fresno State. I don't know if you know if you knew Q. I think his last name is Kerry. I think
Yeah,
that's
Kerry,
yeah,
Q
yeah,
was my
Q.
guy.
Yeah,
Q
yeah.
was my
So
guy.
yeah, he coached me a couple of my
Yeah, Q,
boys at
Q and
high
I
school.
are Q and I were Chick-fil-A buddies.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and he told me though,
Yeah,
he's like Paul's a raw talent. He used to give us Paul George stories. He's such a raw talent, but he was like
yeah.
he had all the intangibles, all
Yeah, Q used to so like Fresno State used to have open practices during the fall, and I would usually sit with Q.
Okay,
And Fresno State years ago had a tall receiver named Victor Dean, and I could tell Q was secretly trying to get him to play basketball because he was
okay,
a 6'6" receiver.
okay. Yeah, I believe it. Hey, I got one more. I got a quick little game for you right here, Zo. This is our first time we've done this on the show. I don't think I told Zay about this one. I just threw it in real quick. Quick one.
Already.
Curveball.
We're gonna do a quick start, bench, or cut with 3 quarterbacks. All right. Give me Derek Carr. Derek Carr, Jared Goff, or Zach Klein. Who you gonna start, bench, cut?
All right, I'm gonna start Derek Carr, even with his groin injury. I think Derek's honestly put together a very, very solid year,
Okay.
even despite the injuries, even despite the mediocre ways that the Raiders have had. I'm gonna start Derek Carr. I'm gonna stick with the Fresno State guy.
Okay.
Jared's next, and then I'm benching Klein.
Okay.
All right, we'll replace Klein with Josh Allen.
That's what I should have went with. Yeah, there you go.
That's a little tougher for you.
All right,
What
do
about
it
that
again.
one?
Derek
No,
Carr,
nice little fastball.
Derek Carr, Josh Allen, and Jared Goff. Start, bench, cut. Who you going with?
Okay, so now I'm gonna remix it. I'm gonna start Josh Allen. Yeah, I'm gonna start
Freak
Josh
talent.
Allen. He's been on a roll. He's been on fire. Even I'll admit that he's really exceeded expectations. I mean, especially coming from a place like Wyoming that's not traditionally a QB factory. But Josh has been on a roll. You got to go with the hot hand. Then it's Derek, and then it's whoever you threw after that.
Goff.
That's cool hearing that from you because you've seen them all young, so you've
Yeah.
seen them from start to finish.
And I think that's just the beauty of covering high school sports. And I'm going to tell a lot of young journalists out there, it's like, don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged if you cover a high school football game. And I say this because what if there's that one kid who goes to the NFL one day?
And with your experience from covering young, do you have reporters from, let's say, NFL or people reach out just to hear what you have to say about some of these
I've
things?
had in the past. In fact, so one of my connects is actually Mark McMillan, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with Mark. Played for your Eagles. Also played
Went
for
to
the
Bama,
Chiefs.
right?
Yeah,
I
Alabama.
know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark McMillan, Dante Marsh, who's also from Oakland as well. Played in the
DC at
CFL.
Delta, right?
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
you. I
San
know what you're
Joaquin
talking about.
Delta. He coaches out there, and he played in the CFL. He's like a CFL legend.
Yeah, baller.
Yeah, yeah. So it's crazy because you get these guys who are like NFL personas or pro personas, not just reporters but former players as well. And,
Yeah.
Mark and D Marsh, they constantly talk to me. They constantly pick my brain about certain young kids. D Marsh especially because obviously he's trying to recruit kids. So
Okay.
And for younger listeners that want to be working sports journalism, what's some advice you would give to them how to get started?
like don't be afraid to ask around. Don't be afraid to go into the journalism department and see like what availabilities there are. You're gonna have either the school newspaper, or you're going to have a teacher on site who may give you like different assignments just to kind of test who you are. So, and I think another thing too is like, don't be afraid to put the light on someone else, because that's what I've done over the years. We mentioned all these athletes that I've gotten the chance to cover. I mean, I look at it and say, well, I'm at peace because it was more about them and it wasn't about me. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's good for my resume with who I covered, but it was really more about, letting the world know who this guy was before he ended up going to the NFL draft, or before he ended up playing in World Series, or got his first offers. So it's, just know that it's truly not about you. It's not about who follows you on Twitter or who retweets you. It's more about the subject matter.
Gotcha.
I appreciate it. That's big. I think that's going to help a lot of, because people ask us, and we just like to talk football, do our podcast and voice from that. But
I could talk football like literally like 20 hours a day. I still need my sleep, and then I'm up and at it again.
So you a Raiders fan or a Niner fan?
I swing more towards the Raiders because I have a lot of family history, and it just so happens. So my cousin actually lives near Oakland Coliseum.
Okay.
And I also had an uncle who worked in Alameda, but he lived in Oakland as well.
Okay.
And so I have a lot of, that's like there's my roots in Oakland.
Gotcha.
Like that's my time in Oakland. Okay, so you know what? I don't know if I could. I'm gonna try to show you something here. Okay. See that frame right there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's signed by the legendary Willie Brown, who passed away recently.
Yeah, rest in peace, famous Raider corner. Yep.
Yeah, I met him back in '94. He came to the Lompoc Walmart, and he was signing autographs. And he's actually one of my dad's all-time favorites.
Okay.
Nicest guy though.
That's so cool. And since you're a Raider fan, we talk Raiders, Niners all the time on this pod. Let me ask you real quick: how would you judge John Gruden's first 3 years with the Raiders?
I'm seeing some slight steps, but it's not there yet. And I also believe too, like the Raiders had to realize that they had to be as patient as they could with Chucky, because you gave him a 10-year contract. If you had fired him after year 2 or even year 1, that's a lot of wasted money. Mm-hmm. But I'm seeing the strides. Obviously, like this team, we now know what's wrong with this team. They have a hard time finishing. They didn't finish last night. They're 7-7. They got Miami coming up. So, I mean, moving forward, like there are pieces there. Like Derek's obviously playing at a high level despite his injury. Josh Jacobs is an emerging star. Max Crosby. But I feel like that you still need to bring in a prominent defensive coordinator, maybe even get a new secondary coach. And I feel like that with those elements, you could potentially challenge for a wild card spot. Maybe not the Chiefs right now. I mean, the Chiefs are on a different stratosphere. Let's be honest. They're on a different stratosphere. But I could see by year 4, I could see the Raiders potentially maybe getting a 5 or 6 seed.
And so, would you say year 4 is playoffs or John's gone?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: like, if the Raiders go 5-11 next year, you have no choice but to make the coaching change. You just at that moment you just realize, you know what, this is not working like we had hoped. But if they go 8-8 or 9-7, that should give Gruden some leverage in knowing that he could come back another year. But you would have to continue to build, whether if it's for the draft or for free agency. And it's obvious, like right now, he's building for the draft.
Well, hell, give us your honest opinion. You're a Derek Carr fan from your Fresno State ties, and you're an Oakland Raiders fan. I've constantly told Zay, I'm an Eagles fan, you know that, but I like the Raiders. Same reasons for you. Got family connection to the Raiders. But I tell Zay all the time, I'm looking at this year like I almost looked at this year like you guys had to get to the playoffs as far as to evaluate the Gruden Carr dynamic, because my question to follow is, after this year, it doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs. In the near future, do you see John and Derek parting ways? Just because at the end of the day, John wasn't Derek's guy. He didn't draft him, and I don't know. Do you think that works out moving forward?
I'll say this, D-Lane. I feel like that this relationship needs one more year.
Okay.
One more year. They make the playoffs. All is well. They can move forward. Okay. If they don't make the playoffs together, somebody has to go. Whether if it's Gruden or whether if Carr has to find a change of heart. But, Derek has a lot of roots in California, being from Bakersfield, playing at Fresno State, and starting his career in Oakland. So, it's like this. The guys know. Like, I'm sure those guys know. I can't speak for them, but I'm sure those guys know that they have to produce.
Okay.
I love your insight on the Raiders, man. It's real clear. I was my opinion on it is simply Del Rio made the playoffs in year 3. I held is Del Rio a better coach than John? I would hope not, as far as the contract we gave him. So I was judging John Gruden as you need to make the playoffs in year 3. And this is a stat to me that was most alarming. If John Gruden misses the playoffs this year, which I mean mathematically it'd be really hard, he'll be the only coach in NFL history to be 6-3 3 times and miss the playoffs.
Yeah, that's something you don't want to have.
So as
it is, like he won the Super Bowl with what Tony Dungy left behind.
Exactly, and I think he's out of date. When he was young with the Raiders, winning with them, right? I think John Gruden's a coach that needs just talent. Almost like an NBA coach. If you give him talent, he's gonna win.
I think another thing too with Gruden is like he has to be in a position where his coaching staff, it's not his buddies. It's people who are like brilliant minds. All the more reason why, since we're on the subject, I feel like the Raiders need to make a run at Wade Phillips to run their defense.
I like Big
he's
Wade.
available.
I like Wade.
Yeah.
Hey, because I always ask Zay, I was like, I had no reason why y'all got Gunther in the first place. Brown was running that defense. It wasn't like they were elite year in and year out. They were maybe a top 10 D here and there every few years. But I never understood the Gunther hire in the first place. I loved the Wade Phillips hire. I like that.
If you don't get Wade, your contingency plan in the event that he's not rehired in Atlanta, Raheem Morris. I think Raheem Morris, like he knows his defenses. He's really brought a new energy to Atlanta. If they don't retain him, he should be pickings for Las Vegas.
Definitely.
Hey, Lorenzo, we need you to work for the Raiders, man. You got some good ideas.
Hey, so on that, so I also help a website called Franchise Sports Media based out of Las Vegas. I'm working remotely right now, but I'm doing a thing called Huddle where I take a play, like certain plays that happened in the Raiders game, and I break down like how it happened. So technically, I'm kind of covering the Raiders.
Okay.
Even though I'm from home.
Are you gonna break down that overtime play?
Yes.
That's the.
I'm on the other things.
Okay.
I might need to pick your brain, Delane, about like the secondary play of the Raiders. I mean,
hey, I went on week 4 Zay, week 5. It was early in the year, and I said they were on track to be 3 of the worst defenses I ever seen in my life. I said I didn't know who was worse out of Atlanta, Dallas, or Oakland's DBs in defense in total to start the year off. And Oakland terrible.
I saw the times that they held. Like I think it was Mullen number 27. Anytime I see a corner or any DB holding, it tells me that they don't trust their technique and they're playing scared.
Yeah. So Mullen's really the only one I really like, to be honest. I like Mullen because I used to like Abrams, but it's just too many mental blown assignments. I don't know if he's not reading the game correctly, not seeing the X's. I was an X's and O guy, so that's one of the first things I look at in a player. And it's like, you're supremely talented. You'll come up and hit. I don't know if he needs to be in he also needs to be in a different system. Like I can see him in a Seattle type system. Like he needs to come up. He's a box guy. You can't put him on the half. He's not gonna play the half. He's not gonna play the half and cover that deep third.
I agree that he's a box guy, but we have to remember about the Jamal Adams. They're bigger guys. He's a 210 guy, right? He's not. He plays big, but he's not to be in that box or box safety. He's gonna have to come in next season like I'm 220 at least. So we'll see.
I do forget about that.
I do like Abrams' game, but I feel like that he needs to slow it down. Like I feel like he plays a little too recklessly, and I feel like that also attributes to maybe he's not being coached right.
100%. I think. I
need to get C Wood in there, man. Get C Wood back in there to coach. That's what I'll be trying to get, at least for the.
I might rock his jersey tomorrow for E40 too short. So
okay.
The Verzuz.
Yeah. Who you got in the? I got 2 more questions for you before we let you go. But go ahead. Who you got in the Verzuz, though?
I'm gonna I love too short, but I'm gonna go with 40. 40's lineup is way too deep, and 40 also like started a movement with like the whole like jersey popping stuff, and then the hyphy movement. I know it's like story time with Zoe, but the hyphy movement stretched out to Fresno during the time I was there, and there was people ghost riding the whip. There's people like doing the whole like the fizz dance and like I mean it stretched out there. So it's gonna like that's why I'm looking forward to tomorrow. It's gonna conjure up so many great memories. And I'll also share this. So I actually got on the phone with 40 last year.
Okay.
40 was like the coolest dude. Like it was actually around the time that I was getting ready to cover Cal with Bear Territory. And 40 wished us well. And then he even asked us, send me the link. I want to read this stuff. So like, I mean, I'm looking forward to it because of the whole Bay Area vibes. And obviously it's they're two artists I grew up on, but I got right with 40.
Who you guys, eh?
Hey, I'm not picking nobody. I just want to see a good versus. This is
it's a celebration, man. I think 40 got big. I think 40 got hits in each decade, like you know, like just consistently dropping hit. I feel like Short might have like a little dead period somewhere in his career, and I feel like Short got the bigger songs with like Blow the Whistle.
Yeah,
and shit like
Short
that.
got those club hits.
Yeah, Short got them clubs hits, but I think 40 just got like more songs. I think.
I hope they do Rappers Ball because like that was the song that made me a 40 fan, and then Too Short also spit on that.
That was on the In a Major Way album, I think. Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, and then Freaky Tales was actually the first song I ever paid attention to involving Too Short. So I hope like Too Short gets into that bag.
Okay. I got two more before we let you go, Zo. Two more questions before we let you go, man. First one, favorite interview you've done with an athlete that, you know, built a relationship with afterwards or that you're still in contact with? Like just a good interviewer, person that you still rock with.
Jake Constantine. I mean, Jake Constantine from Camarillo. And again, he's getting ready to grad transfer to Washington State. Probably the most honest interview. I mean, and you could tell too, like, he had an underdog persona. Like the thing about Camarillo in Ventura County, Camarillo is a very blue collar scrapper neighborhood. Yeah, it looks affluent. Yeah, it looks like the grass is greener over there, but it's very blue collar. He took on that persona, and he was probably the most honest interview. Outside of that, it's kind of hard. I know Marcus was always very polished. Marcus McMarion, he was always like very polite. Jake Hayner was another one. I felt Jake was more like, you know, say this but don't say that sort of thing.
You know why? His mom.
Well, his mom taught him well.
yeah. She taught him real well. His mom works.
Yeah, his mom's a legend in Fresno too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, his mom's a legend.
Training. He got the PR training for sure.
Yeah. You know, Jalen Henderson. Jalen Henderson was a really good interview as well. Jermaine Terry, like, I think when looking at Terry and Jahan, they were very sincere. I guess, I mean, you could tell like they were around like certain vices and things that they didn't want to see. And because of that, it humbled them, but it made them realize the bigger picture. It made them realize I need to get out of Richmond and I need to instill hope in that city.
Okay. Before I ask my last one, you got anything, Zay? I was going to ask him the same question we like to ask all our guests.
Oh, no. This has been great. Let's lead off with your last question.
Hey, man. So, Zo, I'm gonna need a favor here, big guy. We like to ask all our guests this question. And once you answer it, if you know the person, you got to give us the lob, okay? Who should we have on the show next? And if you know, you got to give us the lob if you can.
Who should you guys have next? So you've had Beam, you've had me. I would say if you guys can, try to get Zoe Carter.
We got Coach Carter on.
Okay, you did go. Okay.
We got Coach Carter on.
You know, Ronnie Rivers over at Fresno State. You know, you never know. He might enter the draft. He might use the whole.
That's the kid from Freedom, right?
Yeah, his dad is Ron Rivers.
Okay.
Now, if you could try to get father and son on the show.
Is the write that down. Say, is that Freedom guy still there? The coach he put out all those guys from Darnell Daniels to Joe Mixon to Ronnie. Is he still there? I think he stepped down. He had Freedom. He turned Freedom around. Freedom was a solid program for the last few years. I don't know if he's still there. Kevin, I think his name was Kevin something. Coach. Yeah, he can coach. He can coach his ass off.
I think so.
Okay.
Ricky Rivers, though, we're like father and son on him.
Okay.
Yeah, Ronnie and Ron Rivers, like they're good interviews.
Okay.
Like Ron especially. Like Ron's actually a very honest guy. Like Ron was actually the record-breaking running back for Fresno State, and now his son is breaking his records. But they have Bay Area roots. So.
Okay. Yeah, definitely going to have to reach out to them. Okay, hey man, Zo, we appreciate you, man, for coming in.
Hey, you know what, guys? Thank you. I had a lot of fun. This was probably the most fun I've had in a while. even though it's through Zoom. You know, you guys are always welcome to pick my brain or hit me up at any time. And you know, guys, stay safe. Stay safe during this holiday season. I mean, obviously, like things are really crazy and chaotic, but I think that we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. So, and I will say in 2021, I'm definitely planning on returning to the Bay, and maybe I'll see you guys. So,
hey, hit my line up, Zo. Need anything out here? We got you, man.
Appreciate
and
you.
I also have one request. I don't know if you've been to the Olympia Company in Oakland.
I have.
Yeah. I need to go there. I miss that place.
Okay, if you like them, you're gonna have to write it down. So you gotta try Lucky 37.
I tried that. Yeah,
okay,
I tried that.
Lumpia. I like they Lumpia.
Yeah, their wings are fire. Their wings are fire.
Wings. Yeah.
And I saw the I think it's the Shock G mural. Yeah, Shock G from Digital Underground. Yeah.
Zo know everything, man. It's one of my favorite guests we've done, man.
That's one of my favorite ones.
It's like I'm secretly from Oakland, even though I'm not from Oakland.
Hey, this was so
Fresno
far.
or Northtown?
Go ahead. Hey, this one was so far. We might have to drop this one because me and Zay was waiting to drop guest pods till after the season. We might have to drop this one in the near future, man.
Yeah, that's
good one right here.
Yeah. So is it gonna go up today or?
We'll probably chop it up and talk about it. Not today, but we might drop it soon though, because like I said, we've been compiling guest interviews.
Okay.
We usually wait until after the season to drop our guests, but we did drop a few guest interviews earlier in the year. We like to sprinkle them here and there, but
we're gonna drop this one.
We're gonna have to drop yours because this was fire.
Yeah, because the whole National Signing Day and all the stories I dropped and all that, and who I think is gonna win Verzuz, so you might as well just drop it now.
Yeah, we gotta get this one out, man.
Definitely.
This was fire. Hey, we appreciate you again, man. Thank you for joining the show, Zo.
Yeah, thank you guys. Stay safe. Take care. God bless.
Still went for it. It's time to change the club.